two-time world champion in women's ice hockey, and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan. I always have been. And to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me. And just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you could feel that there at that game.
Now, here's Sports on the Hill podcast.
That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network. Welcome back for another great episode covering the Capitals, the Wizards, that great Super Bowl game yesterday. And we're going to talk some boxing also with Paul, the boxing guy, later on. So as always, we'd like to thank you, the fans, listeners, contributors, everyone that tunes in, checks out the videos, and the folks that's just tuning in for the first time. We appreciate y'all showing us love, checking out Real DC Sports, because we know you're tired of hearing that BS that they put on the airwaves. And we're bringing you the best uncut sports coverage around, and we're going to continue to do that. Season 5 is right around the corner. We're going on our 4-year anniversary, and we continue to grow. We continue to improve. We continue to get better. And stay tuned, because we got some things in the works. But I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, because, it's one of those days. It's a good day. It's been a crazy day. I know everyone is still, have their own interpretations of what happened during the Super Bowl yesterday. And I haven't got on my soapbox in a while, so I think I'm going to get on my soapbox tonight on a couple of different topics from yesterday that has had the internet and the sports world buzzing. Now, feel free to call in, chime in, listen in at 347-884-9299 on the True Radio Network hotline. As always, we're going to have more coverage of the Super Bowl in the second hour. So we're going to have Paul, the boxing guy, on. Unfortunately, Janae won't be able to make it tonight, but Team SportsOTHP is real deep, so we still going to be able to talk some Super Bowl. So I'm going to talk a couple of points of order that's come out since yesterday's game, which, in my opinion, was a great football game. I've seen folks on social media and talking that it was a dry game, it was this, it was that. This was an actual football game with strategy, play calling. It was like real football. You had adjustments being made. You had punches and counter punches. You had things going on. 2 good offensive coordinators, 2 opportunistic defenses that were trying to, win the game for the ultimate prize. But first of all, for folks to say that the Super Bowl was dry, you just don't know football. I'm sorry. Simple as that. Now, the halftime show and the booty shaking heard around the world that's caused a lot of commotion on social media about, 2 Latinas, shaking their ass on a halftime show in the so-called family show. But last year they had Adam Levine with no shirt on for the whole halftime, and that was cool. It is what it is. And I'm going to touch on this Patrick Mahomes MVP that I've heard some folks upset that he received the MVP and that the running back, who had great numbers and who did definitely help Kansas City win this game, didn't get the MVP. But we all know it's a quarterback-driven league. When they do the Disney World commercials, they don't go to a running back. They go to the quarterback. I'm still thinking to see if there's ever been a Super Bowl MVP at running back. If there was, feel free to chime in on the Facebook Live, or YouTube Live, or Periscope. I didn't get a chance to check, but I've been racking my brain trying to think if there's been a running back. I believe Marcus Allen, I think, is the only running back to make Super Bowl MVP with, I believe, 200 yards in the Super Bowl.
I got the answer to that. Hold on. I'm right here. I have your answers. So there's actually been a Redskin who's done it. So let's break it down real fast. I'm pulling up the entire list right here, but I know that Rigo won one. So here we go. Terrell Davis with the Broncos, Emmitt Smith with the Cowboys, Otis Anderson with the Giants, Marcus Allen with the Raiders, John Riggins with the Washington Redskins, Franco Harris with the Steelers, and Larry Sunoka of the Dolphins. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah.
Larry Zonka.
Zonka, yeah.
So that's roughly 9 running backs out of 54 games. So,
seven.
Mahomes,
Less. Yeah.
Oh, my math is off. I've been drinking a little early, Robbie.
That's what I'm here for.
But, yeah, Mahomes had a good game, just like in the week previous, 2 weeks previous when he brought his team back on his legs, getting to the end zone and doing things, making things happen. He did the same thing this week. He had 2 interceptions. He had 2 touchdowns. Still had a 79 quarterback rating and still led his team to victory. So I don't even know what the big hubbub is about, but quarterback is MVP Super Bowl. He didn't cost him the game. He won him the game. I don't see a problem with it. So simple as that. Stop being butthurt about any and everything for no reason at all, because you really don't have anything to be butthurt about. And on the last topic, I said I was going to leave it alone, but the asshat tweet heard around the world with him and Kansas City Chiefs were actually the team of Kansas. And then he tried to delete the tweet, and he still has his followers trying to defend him.
Yeah, what's great is
I've been trolling all day.
It's actually illegal for the president to delete tweets, so that's going to have its own issues. So,
all the other legal stuff, I'm sure he's not worried about with deleting the tweet. All the stuff he didn't got away with already. I'm sure that's the least of his concern.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well let's move on to some hockey talk. That's something we can control.
We're not going to get too deep into the pod. I just had to get some stuff.
No, I appreciate it.
All day, just to get some stuff off my chest. But let's go ahead and get into Capitals talk. We had 4 games. The team went 2-2. They're still number 1 in the league. 1 point up on Boston, 4 points up on Pittsburgh, and 5 points up on St. Louis. They are currently with 75 points. Do the math. They had a 2-2 week. We were all hoping, Robbie, you correctly picked the 2-2. We were hoping for 3-1. And the game yesterday definitely could have been that one to put us at 3-1, but we're definitely going to break that down. And on that note, I'll go ahead and bring in Anna so we can go ahead and start breaking down these games and getting into some Capitals talk. Anna, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm recovering from yesterday.
I figured.
Yeah, but you know what? I honestly can say, being an Niners fan since 1980 and loving this team, even from Virginia, being from California, you can't help but have so much respect for Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid. So I will give hats off to them. No bitterness on this end. I thought the Niners played awesome, but that's okay. And I won't say that the afternoon Pens game jinxed it, but it maybe have a little bit to do with it.
For sure. Yeah, I'll just say real quickly that I was rooting for the 49ers because I really wanted us to be able to celebrate it today. And I thought we had it. I was rooting so hard in that interception, and then they came back, and it was disappointing, but I was really happy for Kansas City at the same time. So it was pretty even split here in the man cave. It was 3 people rooting for each team, and Zach was sort of our impartial witness for the first half. So.
Yeah, no, and Carol, I agree with you. Like what you said in the beginning, I did not find this to be a dull football game / Super Bowl game, whatever. I thought it was. You had turnovers, you had interceptions, you had great passes. Unfortunately, like with all sports, we got shitty calling, but I thought it was great. I watched the whole, obviously, all of it, and I thought it was fantastic. And I do think the Niners will come back stronger next year.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about the Caps.
For sure. So
Get more public.
So let's start off with the beginning with last Monday's game with the Capitals Canadians. So Anna, why don't you break down the goal scoring in that game?
Okay, sure, no problem. So the Caps played the Canadians last Monday, and at 1:55, Montreal scored first. But then Tom Wilson scored his 15th with a power play goal to tie it up at 18:30. second period was completely dominated by the Capitals, with Travis Boyd scoring his third at 2:03, assisted by Eller and Leipzig. And then Jacob Rana scoring his 23rd at 14:51, assisted by Oshie, which was his 18th, and Kuzi his 27th. Montreal goes on to score first in the third, but then you have Backstrom closing it out with an empty netter, giving the Caps a 4-2 win. This is a great game.
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed this game. I mean, we had a great podcast. You called it. You said you thought that they would come on strong in the second half of the game, and that's true. They did. And I think that they were a little sleepy, taking 2 weeks off from hockey pretty much. But obviously, I thought that Tom Wilson scoring at the end of the first period gave them some momentum on the power play. He's been playing great on the power play. Travis Boyd has been great. Verana, sensational. He continued his point streak, which led into the next game that we'll talk about in a second. But he was able to continue to get to a 9-game point streak, which is incredible, with his 23rd goal. And then, I, of course, love Nicholas Backstrom, always getting a goal. So that was his 10th of the season. Fantastic. And Tom Wilson broke the 20-assist barrier, which I thought was really cool as well. And Hagelin's been playing great, especially with the penalty kill, but also helpful on the offensive end as well. So I just thought it was a great overall game. Carol, what were some of your thoughts?
I definitely agree. They started out, gave up the early goal. Didn't look good at the beginning, but as you said, Wilson got that power play goal, which we talked about. The power play has been, not as good as we're used to seeing. We've seen them add some wrinkles to it, especially in the game yesterday we're going to talk about. But this was a team effort without the captain. They still, put up 4 goals. They started out a little sluggish, but, that's what the Caps do. We've seen them come back. They're number 1 team in the league, going 6-on-5 for a reason. Sometimes they, have to come back and do what they got to do. But Opie was pretty good in net. That put him at 19-9-4, and gave up 2 goals on 33 shots attempted. So, he was looking pretty good in that game after he gave up that early goal. But it was definitely a good team win, especially without the captain being there.
For sure. And any final thoughts on this game before we go into the next one?
No, and I didn't know, actually, Robbie, if you wanted to do the Preds game since you were there, or if you wanted me to go.
Well, I'll let you just
and you can talk about.
Yeah, why don't you go through the scoring breakdown, and then I will give my assessment of being there in person, because I feel like it was a little different than watching it on television.
Right. Well, I walked away from this game thinking it was one, very physical and very fast-paced in the first period. And then I kind of shifted a little bit. So we have Richard Panik, finally, which I'm so happy to say this guy's name in a positive note. Scores first at 19:28, assisted by Hagelin. And then the Preds go on to score 3 times. But not before the captain gets his 35th at 16:26 for a 3-2 score, ending the first. And then we have Panik scoring again to open the second, and Wilson scores his 16th, the power play goal, assisted by Eller and Ovechkin. And unfortunately, the third period had the Preds scoring 2 goals, giving the Caps a 5-4 loss. And I think the frustrating thing I walked away with on this one was the slashing and hooking penalties. When you're just like, it's so not necessary. And I was kind of hoping that they would have put Sammy in the net, but apparently, obviously my opinion doesn't matter, but I thought after he did well, put Samsonov in, and they kind of go every other, so that Sammy would have had a chance to play against the Preds and the Pens. That didn't happen, and then I think we kind of saw a little, I don't know, there was definitely a social media negativity outrage with this one against Holtby, which I hate, but I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with him having to be between the pipes on this game.
Right. All right. Well, let me break it down from a little bit of a different perspective. So I think, online I read a lot of things about the effort level. I actually thought that the compete level and effort level by both teams was phenomenal in this game. I have to give the Predators a lot of credit. They looked very fast, very physical, and just a very if you looked at them and you looked at their standings, you would say, oh, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, they didn't look like one of the bottom teams in the West. They came out with a lot of energy, and they were able to jump on Holtby, but a lot of defensive miscues for a lot of those goals. So I don't blame Holtby on all of them. Obviously, the Ovechkin goal was a huge gift, which was really great to see because it was able to continue his goal-scoring streak. So at this point, he was able to put up 9 goals in 4 games, I believe. Yeah, 9 goals in 4 games, yeah. And which is incredible, and at that point had been his best goal-scoring run. He would actually be able to continue that in the next game. I thought Panik was one of the best players for the Capitals. I mean, to get his second goal. This one was kind of funny because they thought it was actually a different player who got it, but he actually, I believe, deflected it off of their defender and in. And then Tom Wilson on the power play again. You know, he's looking great. Ovi got his 17th assist as a secondary assist on that. Lars Eller, the Tiger, also got an assist. So that was really great. I thought that there was a lot of energy and momentum sort of heading into the third period. I mean, they had the lead 4-3, and then they give up a shorthanded goal, which is now they're leading the league in allowing shorthanded goals, and that's a big problem. And they got to figure out how to solve that, because right now our penalty kill is actually scoring more goals than our power play, and more goals are getting scored against us on the power play. So it's been a net negative for us. So we got to figure that out. And then, of course, they get it was a tie game, and then it was just sort of a bad bounce, and they win the game. But I thought that they actually played really well in the third period, and I just think that a couple plays didn't go their way, and that game could have really gone either way. And I really enjoyed going to the game with my dad. I enjoyed the giveaway. It was one of my favorite giveaways they've ever had, which was a really nice Capitals scarf. I should actually go grab it and wear it. But I had a really, really fun time, and I thought the energy level and the compete level was really, really good, and I don't necessarily blame Holtby for the loss as much as people want to make it out to be. Carol, what are some of your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, the whole Holtby Samsonov thing is really hilarious to me, because we had the same thing on the Stanley Cup run with Grubauer and Holtby, and fans crying about Holtby, saying that they just put the other guy in, and they got what they wanted, but ultimately Holtby took over in the playoffs, and we know what happened. So I mean, honestly, it's really killing me, because this team is number 1 in the league. They lose one game, and the fan base, they're starting to turn like Redskins fans, which is really starting to bother me, because the Capitals have been successful. Like, they expect perfection. If the Capitals aren't winning 7-0, not having any PK problems, scoring on every power play, this fan base is getting rabid. I can understand if they hadn't won recently, but this whole, it's really starting to get irritating. I understand the BC fan base is coming for a winner. We've had championships in the last 2 seasons, but yet we still get all of this crap that comes out, and it's mostly stirred by the DC sports media, which I understand. But folks, no team is perfect. No player is perfect. And the other team gets paid to play just as well as the Capitals. Sometimes the team isn't going to win. And the fan base is starting to remind me of Sidney Crosby, who they all hate, who never gives the other team credit and always say, oh, we didn't play well. Sometimes the other team is just better that night. So let it go. Stop sucking on your thumb and crying like little babies. This team is number 1 in the league. They've been playing great. And then with the PK and the penalty, with the power play, unfortunately, the shorthanded goal was the momentum swing in this game. But this team has had the top power play for years. Teams are finding out how to, stop it. So now they're doing different things. So you're going to have miscues. And mostly what I saw was teams are playing the penalty, the power play more aggressive, because they know how much skill this team has. So they're taking away time and space. And unfortunately, our players are still making these around the back passes that the other teams are intercepting, because they've seen it so many times. So when you're changing things up, it isn't going to be pretty. It isn't going to work all the time. There's going to be bumps in the road. But the ultimate goal is to be clicking at the right time going into playoff time. So it was a bad loss. I said that we would probably lose this game. I hate losing to Nashville, about the Forsberg and Ribeiro stuff. I hate that fact. But for some reason, this team has the Capitals number, just like the Dallas, I wanted to say North Star, Dallas
Stars.
Stars.
Yeah, so
I mean,
Carol, I'm going to have to retire going...
He just had their number.
I'm gonna have to retire going to Predators games now too. Like, I can't go to Stars games because we'd always lose, and now the Predators might be up there too. So it's just so frustrating because I thought we actually held Forsberg in check for most of that game, but other people found a way to beat us. But I agree with you. I think that I was talking to Janaea. We did a little podcast during the most recent game and also a post game, and it's just fans want to blame goalies for everything, and it's so easy to do, and they want to blame coaches. But I'm like, it's one thing. Like, you don't trade an asset when you're currently in first place, like a Holtby that could, even if you did go with Sam in the playoffs, you would want Holtby's wisdom and knowledge on the bench. Like, that's invaluable. Exactly. It's way better than a second-round pick, which is what you'd get for him right now, because they know it would be a rental. So why would you get a second-round pick for somebody who can help get you over the edge? Or maybe, like Carol, you were saying, it turns into 2018, Sam can't deal with the lights, when they're the brightest, and he goes in and saves the day, and we win a cup. Like, it just seems so crazy to me. If we were a fringe playoff team or maybe not making the playoffs, then you sell off assets. But you don't do it when you're at the top, and you don't do it when the return is at the lowest. So crazy. But
agreed.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Well, let's. I think that's probably enough to say on the Predators game. Let's get into the better game. Anna, break down this Senators matchup.
Alrighty, so the Caps headed to Ottawa last Friday in the first period. The only goals came from TJ Oshie at 4:10, assisted by Carlson and Brana. And then 11:22, Kuzu scores the 17th, assisted by Brana and Orlov. The second period has Ottawa scoring first at 7:15, followed by Ovechkin scoring his 36th, with assists by Backstrom and Wilson. The Senators closed out the second with a goal at 11:31, making it 3-2 Caps going into the third. And then we have Carl Hagelin scoring his fourth at 3:07, assisted by Eller. And 90 seconds later, the Senators score, making it 4-3. But the Capitals, at 19:45, see Ovechkin score his 37th with an empty netter to give the Caps a 5-3 win. And I think this is, I thought this was going to be the momentum the team was going to need and have going into the Pens game. It's like, all right, Predators, whatever, put it behind us, let's move forward. And it, unfortunately it didn't really carry over, but it was still a good game to watch, and I don't know. I don't know if I have much to say about it. Unfortunately, I'm just glad for the win.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of fool's gold, though. I mean, the Senators are not that great, right? So I'm super happy we got the win.
Exactly.
You need to win those games. I'm happy we won against Montreal as well. But at the same time, you can only do so much. And sorry, my cat's trying to get into the camera shot. Anyway, so. But I'm super happy that they were able to get the win. Don't get me wrong. I thought that specifically Ovi scoring 2 goals. It was kind of funny up until this point. My game was the low point of goal totals for Ovechkin. He was able to eventually get 11 goals in 5 games, which is the best span he's ever had in his entire career, which is crazy because his career has lasted for a fairly long amount of time so far, and he's put up a record number of goals. And just in a couple of weeks, he was able to go from 11th all-time in scoring all the way now up to a tie with 8th, and then ended up taking 8th in this game as well. And that's just pretty amazing. I love how everyone congratulated him on that list except for Mario Lemieux. So I don't know what that's all about. But Salty Penguins.
That just makes him sound like such a jerk.
Right. Yeah, everyone else is doing the tweet and the thing because it's a respectful thing to do. But that sucks because now what's great is Mario Lemieux is no longer in the top 10, so that's kind of hilarious. And so maybe that's why he's salty. But I'm happy for Ovechkin. It's been a really incredible thing. I'm hoping he gets to 700 as fast as possible. But the other thing is in the goal scoring race for this year, he went from being 10 back just 3 weeks ago to now, I believe, tied for first place or right up there in the top of the leaderboard last I checked. So just an incredible, especially that first goal, the snipe goal. The second one was an empty netter, but still a nice goal as well. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm really happy. Carol, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Like you mentioned, Hollywood, they're rebuilding. They have a lot of youth on the team. Capitals just outmatch them with their skill and their size. Samsonov in the net, 16-2-1, gave up 3 goals on 28 shots attempted. Ovi, like I told you, my ultimate goal is to try to get an interview with that dude. I'm going to see if I can find a way to make it happen. I'm just so impressed with the way he plays, the way he's just the mind blowing. I say this every time I talk to anybody about him, that the fact that he's only missed 30 games in his career with the physical style that he plays and what he does is amazing. And I think 4 of those were, healthy scratches for suspended for All-Star and stuff like that. So the fact that he stayed this healthy and still being this productive, scoring goals at this age, I believe he will be able to break Gretzky's record. Because when Gretzky, towards the end of his career, he wasn't scoring as many goals. He was assisting more, still, getting points, but he wasn't scoring like Ovi is, and it doesn't look like Ovi's slowing down at all. And he's still on the first line, so even if he does slow down, you still can put him on the second or the third line, and he can still be effective, which I don't see happening. But that's just it's just amazing to actually have this guy for his whole career. And to watch him, I'm impressed. And like I said, I'm going to find a way to get an interview with that dude one way or another.
For sure. I would love to be a part of that. Yeah, he has been my all-time favorite DC sports player in my lifetime. It's somebody who's been consistent all the way through. People talked about playoff failures in the past, but it was always because of either secondary scoring drying up, a hot goaltender on the other side, which could be related, and other factors, goaltending system problems. But it rarely was ever Ovechkin's problem. He was the leading scorer or leading point getter, I believe, in almost every playoffs we've ever been in with him. So he was never the issue in my mind. Although his two-way game has improved so drastically, I thought that he's now one of the best two-way players on the ice, where he was sort of, I don't want to say a one-trick pony because the number of goals he was putting up is still crazy, but it wasn't... there is an argument to be made that Crosby was a better all-around player. Now I think the argument is dwindling. I think Ovechkin has made some huge strides. His passing game has always been very underrated. Now he doesn't put up as many assists as maybe Crosby does, but his back checking and his hitting, he's far more physical. So there's a lot of intangibles, and his leadership is obviously very dynamic, and they follow him. You watch the pregame rituals and you watch everything. They really look to him and his ability to learn English and do everything that the team has ever asked of him. It's been an incredible decade having him be our captain.
Well, that Scott Stevens and Barry Trotz helped convert that game to the 200-foot game. They held him accountable and told him if you want to wear that seal on his chest, you need to play a whole game. And as Ovi does, he stepped up to the challenge and did what had to be done and leads by example, which is a sign of a true leader and a great man on and off the ice. For sure.
All right, let's get into this Penguins game because I don't want to get into it, but it's part of our job here. So...
Yeah, it's that want part of my commentating. So Super Bowl Sunday kicked off with a physical yet frustrating game against the Pens. So at 10:38, Lars Eller scores his 12th assist, assisted by Panik. But then the Pens come back twice to give them a 2-1 lead heading into the second. The Pens score the only goal in the second period. And then we head into the third at 6 minutes. Kuzi gets his 18th, assisted by Vrana and Jensen, making it 3-2. And at 17:27, the Pens score one more time. But then we have literally 15 seconds later, Eller scores, but unfortunately it was like a little too late, and the Caps lose 4-3. And this was even more so than the Preds game. This was an infuriating game to watch. This is not how I wanted to go into the Super Bowl game. But my God, what is it about the Capitals playing either one playing on the Super Bowl Sunday or two having to play at 12:30? That is just like a complete, clusterfuck with these guys. It's like they just can't seem to get it together. So this game just had me just. I was so frustrated. It was physical on both ends, which you're like, okay, good. Of course we're not going to back down. We're going to take it. Terrible ref calls. I mean, come on some of this. I'm not even going to throw Sammy under the bus because you know what? This was a big kind of initiation for him, and I thought he was fantastic. Kentney was fantastic. I think that's the most physical we've seen number 6 play in a long time. But, oh, my God, the amount of missed shots and the amount of missed passes, it killed me. So I don't know. I'm hoping both of you guys watched it.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of talked me off the ledge.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to go first, and then I want to get Carol's take, because I think Carol and I will have slightly different opinions on certain parts. But so I will totally agree with the reffing part of it, because I had people go back and check this, and it's almost always 2-1 Penguins penalties to Caps penalties in every game like they've ever played, including playoff games, and it's brutal. It's like, and I'm not saying that some of the penalties that the Caps are taking aren't penalties. I don't want to say that they're calling things that aren't there on the Caps, but they don't call the same things when they're done by the Penguins, and that's infuriating.
Right.
Either you're going to swallow the whistle in the third or you're not, but I mean, there's stuff earlier in the game, and then we could talk about that, but the end game stuff. At one of the last plays, there was a trip and a slash, and then we still were able to get it out of the zone, and then we're going up the ice, and yes, the stick came up high, but they call this penalty on Carl Hagelin for high sticking, and it changes all the momentum of that period. And it's just like, you just didn't call the two previous ones, so I thought you swallowed your whistle and they were just going to play. Like, and they were pretty blatant right in front of the officials. So I just don't understand why the mentality there. They got 6 power plays. We got 3. That's a huge difference in a game that's this close, but it's a 1-goal differential game. And the other thing is, the one that really annoyed me the most is when it was a 6-on-5, and we've been great at these. There was a puck that was coming in and bouncing loose and was going right to Ovechkin in the slot. And they blow the whistle and say, we can't see where the puck is. And it's a simple call, and no one can call otherwise. It's up to the discretion of the referee. He lost sight of the puck, but anyone can lose sight of the puck if they're not looking for the puck, right? I mean, that is the most arbitrary, and that call never goes for us, and it seems to always go against us, and it seems to happen in Penguins games more than any other games, and it's frustrating because that game should have been tied. I really believe that. And you know me, how often do I talk about officiating on this show? It's very rare. And but this one I thought was blatant, and I talked about it in the post game with Janaea. We talked about in the third period what they needed to, or the second intermission, what we needed to do, and they did it to a T, and that was what was so frustrating, because I thought they came out with a lot of energy and played it the right way, and in fact pushed the momentum and all of the energy in the third, and the fact that the 2 penalties that I think are called, or no, 3 out of 4 penalties that are called in the third are called on Capitals. You know? It's just crazy. Carol, what are your thoughts?
Outrageous.
I feel you. I totally feel you, Robbie, on the officiating. I don't feel like it is consistent on both sides. It's not just Pittsburgh. They allow other teams get away with things that they call the Capitals for. But, it is what it is. To me, this game came down. This game was the first time I've seen the Caps miss so many open nets because they missed about 4 or 5 open nets just on bad, hit it on the stick wrong or was on his side or whatever. So I really can't chalk it up to the officials because this game was winnable. I agree with everything you said with the, ending the momentum when the Capitals were, imposing their will in the third period and tilted the ice. I definitely agree, but I just think this was a game of missed opportunities because the Capitals, they had plenty of opportunities to tie the game and take the lead, but they just missed the open net. And Pittsburgh was taking, like I said in the previous game against Nashville, they're taking away time and space. They're crashing down hard. They're using the Capitals' game plan against them. They ramp up the aggressive forecheck, take the time and space away from the Capitals, and you saw, the Capitals flip the switch in the third period when they said, okay, you want to play the forecheck game, let's show you how the big boys do it. And then that's when they started, ramping up Wilson. I believe he had, 13 hits, career high for him. Excuse me. And they started imposing their will. And they had the momentum. They had the chance to score, to tie the game several times, but they missed the wide open net. So, I mean, I understand, like I said, I understand y'all frustration with the referee. And trust me, I talk about the ref all the time, so I feel you. But I just think this was a game of missed opportunities, and when they play again, the Cowboys are definitely going to be better. I'm not sure if it was an early start, but they're used to the Super Bowl game because they've done this, 4 out of 5 last year, and it's been against Pittsburgh, and they've had pretty decent success. So, like I said, sometimes the other team just, has that number, and Pittsburgh had that jump, especially with Crosby coming back and Malkin playing the way he's been playing. I mean, they were a better team yesterday. They imposed their will more than the Cowboys did in the early part of that game. Like we talked about, the Cowboys are good at coming back, but sometimes it's going to bite you in the ass if you can't always come back.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just it's disappointing. I'll agree to some extent that there was missed opportunities. The big one for me was the Sidney Crosby interference called by T.J. Oshie. I just want to mention that for a second. T.J. Oshie, is being slammed into their boards, and his stick errantly comes up high, and it grazes Sidney Crosby on the shoulder. This enrages Sidney Crosby, and he starts grabbing the stick and pulling it away from T.J. Oshie, which is textbook interference by the bench, right? It is, you cannot interfere with the game being played if you are not playing the game, right? So for him to be like, TJ Oshie knew what he was doing, he was trying to wave the stick in my face, there was a guy all over him. You think that he cares about where you are on the bench? Are you kidding me? Like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Robbie, what happens when a female gets a stick unwanted waved in their face? What do? They grab it. They smack it out the way. He's a little girl, man. He's going to whine about it. No, it wasn't me. Oshie did that because he wanted to give me a turn. Well, don't grab the stick, little girl.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think that's degrading to girls. He's, like, at a whole nother level.
Just the fact that he brought it up in the locker room as post-game comments just tells you, he's a bitch. And you want to say you've been out for 28 games, you want to come in, do Sidney Crosby, play the games, do what you do, and go off quietly into the sunset kind of thing. That's not his style, and that's why he is so just, oh my God, infuriating and hated by so many of the fans out here because he calls those little petty things where it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, for how long have you been playing Crosby? So, yeah, unfortunately with the Capitals, it was 2 kind of lazy periods, and then they looked amazing in the third, but it just wasn't enough to put these guys out. But luckily for us, we get to see them like 3 more times. So
what's unlucky for us, though, is all of them are between 12 and 1 o'clock, which are these horrible games. We don't play them a single time at 7 o'clock. It's just, if that's not seemingly rigged, I don't know what is. That's ridiculous. Like, all 4 games? No.
That's true. Actually, I only knew that there was one other game. I didn't realize all 3 games
That's what someone said online, and I believe it because I definitely know 2 of the 3 are, and I would not be shocked if that person was right because it made a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's look at the schedule so we can wrap. We just went a little bit long on this thing.
All right.
Still got to get some Wizards talk in also.
All right, sounds good. Real quickly, I'll get each of your takes on the upcoming games. So the Kings are coming to town. And this will be tomorrow, Tuesday, if you're not listening live, 7 o'clock p.m. Anna, real quickly, what's your thoughts on the Kings?
You've got 1929-5 record. We did beat them back on December 4th, 3-1 in LA, which is fantastic. Again, you cannot underestimate Kopitar, and if they put a quick between the pipes, another one not to take lightly. So, although I feel confident that the Caps are going to bounce back after this Pens loss.
Carol, your quick thoughts on it?
The Kings, they're another big team, like to impose their will, have a strong forecheck. They haven't checked their standings, but it's always a tough physical game. But being at home, I'm believing the Capitals should win this game.
Yeah, the Kings are doing okay, but we've already beaten them one time this year, so I'm sure that they're going to come out wanting to take it. Pulling up the Western standings real quickly, just so you know the answer to your question. They're actually the worst team in the Pacific, but any team on any given day, that means they're desperate for points too. So. All right, so the only other game this week, though, is the Flyers also coming to town on Saturday. So it's going to have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, which is never bodes well for us. But then the Flyers, who've been doing pretty well as of late, they had up and down season. They have 63 points. They're right now tied with Carolina and 1 point behind the Islanders for fourth. So Anna, what are your thoughts on the Flyers?
Yeah, I think we can take this one. I know that our record with them is 1-1, and when you have Hart between the pipes, he's doing good. But I have a feeling that this is going to be one that we're really going to see as the Capitals come together and get back to that cohesiveness, get back to that chemistry. Tighten everything up, especially after what happened with the Pens. I think we'll see it both in the Kings and definitely with the Flyers, because there's no reason why we should lose to them. We should, we're tied 1-1 right now, so they're, kind of at equal, but we're better than them, so I hope that we can kind of go into it, not arrogant, but of course go into it playing smart hockey.
Sounds good. All right. Well, and the game that's after that is against the Islanders to end the homestand, I believe. That one's actually next Monday, so we'll be breaking that game down live while we talk about those two games next week. So, Anna, I saw that your latest episode of the Power Play Point podcast just dropped. If people want to catch it, go to SportsOTHP.com, click the Power Play Point podcast button, and they can check it out. I believe you recorded it before the Penguins game. Is that right?
Yes. So we have a Kobe kind of mention memorial, however you want to say it, because I had an experience, actually, a personal experience with Kobe Bryant, and then we're going into that Pens game and into the Super Bowl. So yeah, we decided to record on Saturday.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll have to go check it out 'cause I'm interested about that Kobe Bryant connection. I know we talked about him a little bit last week. But all right. Well, thank you so much. And definitely everyone should go check that out. It was a great listen. Carol, do you want to give your quick take on the Flyers real quick? Sorry, I was just trying to get out.
No, it's all good. We running late. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough battle. These teams always battle. Like I said, it's 1-1 split. Capitals hopefully can go 2-0 this week. And let's move on to basketball because we can get this in the first hour and go a little bit over. We got some Super Bowl to talk about.
Sounds good. All right. Sounds good. No, I'm sorry, Anna. We'll talk about it when you're off the line.
That's about It's all good. Have a great night. Thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
All right, have a good night.
All right, sounds good. All right, let me switch gears here on my graphics and pull up the Wizards talk team. We're going to bring in our 3 people in the round table. Unfortunately, Champ won't be joining us tonight, but we do have Brian Brennan. How are you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing well, Robbie. Thanks again for having me over last night. I had a great time.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching the Super Bowl with you. I think we've watched it together the last 3 years. Is that right?
Last 3 years, yeah.
That's awesome. All right, sounds good. I will bring in Arun next. How are you doing tonight, Arun?
Pretty good. Enjoyed the Super Bowl. Looking forward to tonight's show.
Awesome. And the last person on our round table, he wasn't able to make it in last week's episode, but we wanted to give his take on the current game, so we'll be bringing him in with live scoring updates. How are you doing tonight, Tim?
Doing great. Enjoying this Japanese Heritage Night game so far. A lot more than the Wizards' defense. So I'll keep you guys updated.
Sounds good. Yeah. So it's been.
So before you guys get started, let me go ahead and end my Facebook live feed now. I'll be back for Super Bowl, XFL, and boxing. So I'm in my feed now, and you guys go ahead and rock and roll, and I'll be back right around music break.
Sounds good. Thank you, Carol. And we'll definitely be sharing that other feed to all the football groups once this feed ends. We're going to send this one to a couple of Wizards groups as well. I'm going to let each one of you guys break down each of these different games. The first one is against the Milwaukee Bucks. I know Arun didn't want to really break it down too much, but let us know some of your quick thoughts about the Bucks game.
Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe had career highs, 55 points and 33 points, and 101 points combined between those three, including Dante DiVincenzo. Bradley Beal had 45 points, but the Wizards were just blown out, and it wasn't even really a competitive game going into the end of the second quarter. Yeah,
for sure. The game kind of got blown out pretty early, which was definitely disappointing. But all right, so I guess I'll ask Brian or Tim. Do either of you guys have any thoughts on this game, or should we just move on to the Hornets game?
No, it was a pretty bad game. The score speaks for itself.
All right, sounds good. All right, so we're gonna move ahead in the score thing to the Hornets game. I'm going to pull up the live box score for that one right now. So the Wizards were able to win that one 121-107. They were able to, the Hornets actually were able to outscore them in the first, but the Wizards were able to come back in the second. They made a huge run in the third, and then in the fourth quarter, they were able to pull away at the end to make it even a larger lead. This game was in Washington. Bradley Beal had 34 points. I'm going to let each one of you guys sort of break it down a little bit. I'm going to start with Brian. What was your thoughts on the Hornets game?
Yeah, this was the game that was played right after the All-Star reserves were announced, and Bradley Beal didn't make the team. And he said after the game that really pissed him off, and it really should have. Obviously, he should be on the All-Star team. He's averaging 28 points a game. He's having a great season. So I was really shocked that he didn't make the team, but he put together a great performance in this game. And another funny thing about this is after the game he said, in response to not making the All-Star game, he's going to try and make the playoffs with the Wizards this season, which I think is kind of a stretch. But whatever, he can dream. Good for him, I guess. But yeah, this was a good win for the Wizards.
Yeah. Arun, what were some of your thoughts on this win for the Wizards?
I kind of disagree with Brian. The Wizards just have to finish 19 and 17 to make the playoffs. I don't think that's too unrealistic. It might be difficult, that's for sure. Beal had 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists, which was almost a triple-double. Overall, the Hornets were not really in this. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA, but the Wizards did lock it down defensively, and overall a good win for the Wizards.
Tim, were you able to see any of this game, or do you have any thoughts overall in general?
watch live, but just looking at the box score, it's great to have some of these players back, like Thomas Bryant, who had a really big contribution, and the Wizards were able to kind of weather that period of time where they were just destroyed by injuries and playing a lot of G League players. So, it's good to have their full arsenal back and to win a couple games in a row.
Yep, sounds good. All right, let us know what's going on in this Golden State Wizards game real quickly, and then we'll break down the next game.
The Wizards are not playing well, especially in the second quarter here. Down 11, 47-36, and Brooks recently took a timeout after a really ugly defensive possession where they let up, I want to say, 3 straight offensive rebounds, and Mo Wagner looked pretty useless. But it's still early, and they're scoring, and the Warriors are bad this year, so hope is not lost.
Yeah, so the Golden State Warriors to start the quarter went on a 7-0 run, which was not helpful, especially because it was only a 4-point lead. It was already a 4-point lead, for the Golden State Warriors. So it definitely makes it frustrating, to say the least. But, the Wizards have come back in this and at least got another bucket there. So, all right, so let's go into, I'm just trying to do some additional graphics real quickly in the background. We're going to go to the Nets game next. I know, Brian, they are in your division as a Knicks fan. They're the other New York team. The Wizards started off losing in this game. The Brooklyn Nets actually had a pretty decent lead after one. The Wizards came back in the second. It was a pretty even third. And the Wizards kind of walked away with it a little bit in the fourth quarter, and they ended up winning 113-107. Brian, what were some of your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, this was a good win for the Nets. Obviously, the big turning point in the game was when Kyrie Irving got hurt. He was coming off a game the night before. He had just scored 54 points, and he was playing really well in this game for the Nets. But as soon as he went out of the game, the Wizards were playing the Nets really closely in this game. That really kind of shifted the balance over to the Wizards, and they were able to kind of hold off. And they had a strong fourth quarter as well, where they scored 32 points. Bradley Beal had another good game. He scored 34 points. Thomas Bryant had 17 and 10. This was a good win. I can't remember the last time the Wizards have won 2 games in a row, so this was a good stretch for them for sure.
Yeah. And Arun, what were some of your thoughts on this big win?
Overall it was a bad performance by Kyrie Irving. He was held scoreless in the first quarter, but Garrett Temple got it going for the Nets. He scored 17 points in the first quarter, which actually outscored Kyrie Irving for the whole game, who only had 11 points. And he was midway in the fourth quarter was when the Wizards were down by double digits. Bradley Beal scored 15 points in the fourth quarter. He had 3 blocks, so he's definitely playing better defense since that All-Star snub, which was supposedly the reason why he didn't make the All-Star team. And, with Kyrie out, that's the team the Wizards are chasing, so they need to beat the Nets all they can to make the playoffs. And I don't know if that's good for long-term for the Wizards, but definitely a really nice win for Washington, even if it hurts their tanking opportunities.
Right, for sure. I just built a live scoreboard on the fly, so we'll put up for in a second. I was happy to see that they were able to come away with a big win over the Nets, and again, I can't remember a back-to-back win scenario for them either. So obviously, they need to beat some of these, teams, and I was surprised that they were able to beat the Nets, but obviously losing Kyrie is a big hindrance for them. Let's just for time, we only got about 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna actually pull up the upcoming schedule and let each one of you guys break down an upcoming game. Let me just see if I can get this back up and running.
I think there only might be 2 this week, though.
Oh yeah, sorry, they're right. There's only
3. There's 3.
There's 3.
Friday.
If you include
yeah.
tonight,
They play the Mavericks on Friday and the Grizzlies on Sunday.
Yep, exactly. So, all right, I got up the scoreboard right now, and I got the upcoming games up as well. So the first one is the one that they're obviously playing right now. The current score I've got is 49-42, and the Bradley Beal just hit a three to make it 45-49. So it's now only a 4-point game with 8:43 left in the first half, and they just took a timeout. And Bradley Beal just passed John Wall for third place on Wizards' all-time scoring list. So that's interesting that they're now right there at almost the same amount of points. I'm kind of surprised by that stat, but that is cool. Anyways, so going the upcoming schedule, the Mavericks are coming to town on Friday at 7, as you guys were mentioning. I'll start off with Tim. What are your thoughts about Dallas coming to town?
Definitely a tough matchup. I'm pretty sure Luka is still hurt, though, but the Wizards will still be underdogs in that game, just with Dallas's record and talent. I do like, though, that it's at home. I'm going to pick Dallas in this game, but I think the Wizards can keep it close, and there's a decent shot for an upset win here.
Yeah, they just beat Atlanta 123-100, so they obviously are playing pretty decently. They're currently playing Indiana. That's a pretty close game. Indiana's actually winning 55-52 with about 50 seconds left in the first half. And then they'll play Memphis on Wednesday before they play us. So that'll be interesting because we'll have a little bit more time off, I guess. Which sometimes is good for us and sometimes is not. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on Dallas?
Luka's out there. But the players actually right now, Jalen Brunson with Porzingis out too. He had 27 points in their last win against the Hawks. But I think this is a pretty winnable game for the Wizards given all the injuries Dallas has, even though they are a pretty well-coached team.
Right. Brian, any thoughts on the Mavericks?
Yeah, I mean, you guys said it all. This could be a winnable game for the Wizards, considering all the players that are out. Hopefully Luka Doncic is okay, and he's playing. He's a great player to watch, and I really enjoy watching him play. But this is definitely a winnable game for the Wizards, and would be surprised if they win, especially because it's in D.C.
Yeah, and then the Wizards play the Grizzlies, who I was mentioning are also going to be playing Dallas. The Grizzlies also have an extra game. They got to play at the 76ers this week on Friday. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest affects these teams differently. And anyway, Washington's going to be playing Memphis. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on that one?
This is definitely a much tougher game. The Grizzlies did lose their last game, but before that they were on a 4-game winning streak. Brandon Clark is a former teammate of Rui Hachimura. He's a good rookie for them, and so is Ja Morant. He's been an incredible point guard with the, I believe, number 2 pick for the Grizzlies this year, and so that'll be a tougher game for the Wizards, but it is at home. The Wizards do have a chance, but I think the Grizzlies will pull this one out.
All right, and Brian, what are some of your thoughts on the Grizzlies?
Yeah, like Arun said, definitely a tough game with all of Memphis's good young talent. But again, this game is in D.C., so I think the Wizards will definitely have a chance to pull it out. I think the Wizards are actually on a pretty long homestand. All of their last few games have been in D.C., and all their upcoming games are in D.C., so they got to take advantage of this homestand if they want to have any chance of getting in that playoff push. They got to win all their home games.
Definitely. Tim, any thoughts on the Grizzlies?
No, I just think it's another pretty tough but winnable game. Like, the Grizzlies are around 500 and currently in the playoffs, so they have a lot to play for, and they're an improving team. But this is a game that the Wizards are going to have to win if they're going to make Bradley Beal seem like a soothsayer and make the playoffs.
Yeah, so this is a 6-game homestand. They've won their first 2 games, so this will be an interesting game. And then they'll play 3 more, Dallas, Memphis, and Chicago. And the first road game they'll play is next Wednesday, February 12th, at Brian's favorite arena in the NBA, Madison Square Garden. So, all right, well, I think we got it all in by 8 p.m. So I'm pretty happy with that. Right now, the scoreboard is not as fast as my feed. So Washington, they were up 50-51, but Golden State just hit a 3, so they get it back to a 4-point lead. 5 minutes left in the first half, so that game is on NBC Sports Washington. So again, 5 minutes until halftime. And Carol, do you? I'll let our panelists go, and then we can start our next feed and our next topic. I'll let each one of you guys have a final say and maybe give me your take on the Super Bowl and the halftime in 2 seconds, what you liked and what you didn't like. I'll start with Tim. Go.
I enjoyed the game much more than last year. Anytime a team other than the Steelers or Patriots wins, I'm happy. So, halftime show, I enjoyed the booty. I mean, if I look that good when I'm like 50 years old, I would be proud. So, I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, we'll talk to you more about the Wizards next week, Tim, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. Bye, guys.
All right, and Arun, I'll let you go next. What are your thoughts overall on the Super Bowl and the halftime show, and then we'll let you go.
Overall the halftime show was all right. I think it sparked like a controversial debate. I didn't think it was like particularly great, but for a Super Bowl halftime show, it was really good, I guess.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me on. I just want to thank Carol for not filling out his picks during the last week of the NFL regular season, and then I got the tie for the pick'em for the season. So thanks, Carol.
Hey, man, whatever I can do to help you out, Arun, whatever I can do to help you out. I'm still kicking myself for being in the top 3 for most of the season, and the last week of the year, I forget to make my picks. So,
I know.
Congratulations on the shared trophy, man. I gotta go back to the drawing board again next year and see if I can walk away the championship.
Well, see, at least we hooked you. You didn't do it in previous years, so now you got the bug like the rest of us. And Arun, I also didn't play that last week, and that also helped you out. So, but congratulations. I agree. Hopefully Carol and I remember to play the last week of the season next year.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Have a good day.
All right, the last person is Brian Brennan. Any final thoughts? Any quick thoughts on the Super Bowl? And before we let you go.
I thought the game was great. It was really well played between both teams, and I really enjoyed it. And the halftime show I thought was excellent. Like, I honestly almost enjoyed the halftime show more than the game. I thought it was really spectacular. So I wasn't expecting it to be that great, and it was awesome. So shout out to J-Lo and Shakira, because that was great. Big fan.
Yeah, I was a big fan too. I'm with you 100%. I think that the uproar online was a little bit crazy, but we can say that for another day. But I enjoyed watching the game with you, and next year hopefully we'll make it 4 for 4, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Robbie.
Alrighty. All right, I think that I'm going to turn it over. Do you want to talk AFL? AFL. XFL with us before the music break, or are we doing it after?
It's up to you. Well, you do have the rules, so we might as well. I set B for that after.
It's fine. We can do the music break, and I'll just talk about it on your feed.
You'll better stick around and cover it real quick when we come back from the music break.
Yeah, I'll cover it real quick on the other side. I'll end my Facebook feed during the music break, and I'll come back and I'll still give it on yours.
All right, that's the best. Sound like a plan. All right, well, we're going to go ahead into the music break. We already got Paul the boxing guy on the line. We already said Dujanet wouldn't be able to call in tonight. So we're going to get to a quick music break since we ran a little over. We're going to play one of my, not going to say artists because I haven't signed it, but one of my friends, a local artist that used one of my tracks on his debut album, Radio Ready. His name is Brian Hart, coming to you with Submissive. And I'm going to be playing the same track on my video feed when I started back up right before we get into Super Bowl and XFL and some boxing. So we'll be back in 3 minutes. Stay tuned for so much more. SportsOTHP Podcast on True Radio Network. Call in 347-884 77299. And we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Maybe I'll stay with us. Maybe I'll build a quick XFL thing.
I've been dreaming about you all night. Desire in the pain, my lifting all night. Literally so miserable, baby. So miserable, baby. I'm thinking about you, dreaming about you, when I find you. All the pieces it take to make a perfect bitch is right in my view. Hey, is it real right now, girl? Are you really in my world? She gon' take that shit back if she say what she don't mean. She's my helping hand, she gon' try to further me and rub my back at night. She gon' always nurture me. She gon' give me my space, and I gon' think I deal with somebody else. She gon' stay in her place and let me take control like nobody else. She the true definition of a chick that ain't in competition with these other bitches. She gon' grant my wishes, never act malicious, and she do the dishes. Yeah. I've been dreaming about you all night. Desire in the pain, my body shifting all night. Your mind over here, then it's over there. I sleep like the scene, yeah, this shit ain't fair. I'm still stuck on the fact that this shit was never in the plan. And we're back, live from the labs, CP3, coming to you with Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, talking Super Bowl, XFL, and some boxing. Got Robbie G on the line. I was able to keep him around a little bit after the music break so we can talk about the DC Defenders, the new XFL team coming into the city, starting their season this Saturday at, what time was it, at 2 o'clock versus the Seattle Dragons. Robbie, I know you got the rules in front of us. I know there are a couple of rules that's different from the NFL. So, y'all, let you go ahead and run those down real quick. I'll go over the schedule before we start talking Super Bowl and let you get up out of here. Go spend some time with Zach in the midst.
Yes. So, the big difference is obviously for the kickoff rules. So we'll start there. So if you go to sportingnews.com, they have a great article breaking down the differences between the XFL and the NFL. I won't go into all of it, but basically one of the big things is the punting team cannot release past the line of scrimmage until the ball is kicked. But if you've watched over, they cannot move until the ball is caught by the returner on kickoffs. But similarly on punts, the punting team cannot release past the line of scrimmage until after. So it's important to know that it's a little bit different, and they want to eliminate some of the safety issues with the kickoffs. and so but there was more opportunities for touchbacks, and increased touchbacks naturally leads to fewer returns, and they will encourage more kickoff returns while making the play less dangerous. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if changing the timing of that makes a big difference. So you can also do three-tiered point system for teams following a touchdown. It's actually really simple. So 1 point is running a play from the 2-yard line, 2 points is running a play from the 5-yard line, and 3 points is running a play from the 10-yard line. No kicking points are allowed. So that'll be a big difference. Also, the big other one is the overtime rules. So basically, it's going to be almost like a shootout where you get an opportunity to go, I believe, for 2, and each team gets 5 shots at it. And if a team gets mathematically eliminated early, like by points, then you don't need to do all of them. So, so those are some of them. Why don't you go through the schedule real quickly, and then I'll be back to give my final thoughts.
All right, no problem. Appreciate those rule changes. That's definitely going to be interesting with the no kicking extra points. I didn't know about that, so that's something I'll definitely be looking out for. As I mentioned, week 1, I believe it's a 10-week season. They start this Saturday at 2 o'clock versus Seattle at Audi Field. Then next week, they'll be out at Audi Field also facing the New York Guardians. That is also a 2 o'clock kickoff. Then those are 2 Saturday games. Then coming up, you have 2 Sunday away games versus the LA Wildcats, which is a 6 o'clock start. And then they'll be in Tampa Bay on the 1st of March on Sunday for a 7 o'clock start versus the Vipers. Then they'll be back home for 2, which are also 2 Sunday games. They have a 3 o'clock start on the 8th of March versus the St. Louis Battlehawks. And the following week, the 15th of March, they have the Dallas Renegades coming in to Audi Field with a 4 o'clock start. Then the following week, they have an away game versus the Houston Roughnecks, which is the 22nd, which is an away game that starts at 6. And the last game of the season will be a home game versus the Vipers from Tampa Bay at 2 o'clock at Field on the 28th of March. And then they go to the playoffs, and I believe that the top 2 teams of each division make the playoffs. And other than that, I'm not really sure if I didn't get to read it further on this information. Robbie, what else? Your final thoughts so you can get up out of here?
Yeah, so I mean, we're working with the team. We're trying to get credentials. I don't think that the deadline for credentials for this upcoming first game was Tuesday, so they may not even announce to us until after all those have been in. So hopefully we'll know Wednesday or Thursday. We'll let you know on Facebook.com/SportsOTHP if we're able to go. The first game is really the only game I could actually make it to, so I'm hoping that they give it to us for this first game. If not, hopefully they'll give it to us for future games, and Carol will be able to go broadcast live from there, just like we did with the Arena Football League, which is now defunct. But hopefully we do. I have been in contact with the team, so I'm not sure. They didn't ever give me a date of when they get it back to us with the information, so I'm not quite sure on that part. But I just want to let people know we are at least trying to work that out. It's now halftime. The Wizards are down 72-63 to the Golden State Warriors. I actually did keep my Facebook Live feed on just so we could cover that. I didn't get Carol's picture and all the full images you'll see for the DC Defenders graphics for when we talk about them in the future. But I really enjoyed coming on. I really enjoyed the Super Bowl, and I really like the halftime show as well. I'll let you break down your thoughts on that. But I hope you have a good rest of your show, and let's go Defenders, Caps, and Wizards, and I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, Robbie, appreciate it as always. Have a good night. Tell Zach what's up. Tell the missus she can have you back for the night. We're going to talk some more sports tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
All right, later. All right,
All right, guys. Thanks for checking out our coverage. We'll definitely talk more DC Defenders next week, as well as Wizards and Capitals. So thanks for tuning in. DC Sports Without the Politics. If you want to catch the rest of the show, it's on Carol's feed. We'll also share it to the show page. Also, you can check out the link. The audio stream is still going on as well. So thanks for tuning into my feed, and I'll talk to you guys next week.